Developed by Etra Games and published by Perfect World, Torchlight 3 is the latest entry in the Torchlight series. This new title looks to give players more of that addictive dungeon crawling and high-octane combat they crave. But will this game have you staying up till sunrise saying just one more dungeon? Or does this particular torch run out of flame and leave you in the dark?
You've met your end.
Find out in our review. The story in Torchlight 3 kicks off as any good role-playing game does, with the town under siege. As the hero of this tale, it's up to you to reclaim the land, one dungeon and one boss fight at a time.
What are you doing, rookie? Don't just stand there! The fort is under attack! The Goblin Chieftain Wideloot sent his flunky Yapper to raid the outpost! He's gonna break the gate any moment now! Get up there and lend a hand! I'll catch up!
Fans of the series will immediately recognize some familiar enemies, monsters, and themes. The Netherim are back, as is the corruption to the Ember, and the world once again is under threat of an ancient evil, headed up by three sisters and their mother.
Take the Void Heart to the mountain. The gateway and the vessel are finally within my reach.
Overall, the story itself is rather light, and is more of a backdrop and explanation for all this dungeon crawling. It never really manages to get too deep. Instead, it keeps the player focused on the action. As for how you'll be battling this evil, Torchlight 3 has 4 classes for you to choose from. There's the Dusk Mage, who is all about balancing light and dark spells to build harmony, resulting in a surge of power. The Railmaster, a specialist in close-range combat, who is supplemented by a battle train, an on-track turret that follows you around. The Sharpshooter, the iconic archer class that uses precision skills and animal summons to buff attacks. And then there's Forge, a robot that generates heat on attacks, which is then vented to use other abilities. Players can also pick up one of 5 relics, which further diversifies the build potential. Bane focuses on summoning spiders and lashing out with poison. Blood Drinker is all about lifesteal and blades. Coldheart is your classic crowd control choice with ice-based abilities. Electrode relishes in Chaos of Storms. And finally, Flaming Destroyer is all about cleansing the world with fire. The main focus of Torchlight 3 is, of course, the combat, and it's here that it shines bright. Torchlight 3 makes you feel unstoppable. As you increase in power, waves of enemies crumble before your might as you balance your class's skills. There's something extremely gratifying about a screen full of colorful numbers, or better yet, seeing those numbers get bigger. And bigger numbers is all thanks to the loot. Bosses pop with a burst of gear and gold, chests spew forth rewards, and you're never far off from diving into your inventory to inspect a new item and tinker with your build. Torchlight 3 is incredibly addictive. It's very easy to be playing until the sun comes up. It's not all chaos, monsters, and pushing numbers higher though, as Torchlight 3 can be surprisingly zen. This is thanks to a rather simple feature, the fort. After the first hour of gameplay, players will claim a little barren fort on the side of a trail. This will be your new home, a place to customize as you see fit. New features and decorations for your fort are unlocked as the story progresses, bosses are defeated, and the contracts are completed. Contracts are a sort of battle pass that rewards gold, legendary gear, resource bundles, respec points, and other goodies. There's a meditative quality to setting up your fort, which certainly helps you chill in between the intense combat. But the fort isn't just cosmetic, it also serves a purpose. There are some structures that can be built that boost loot drop rates and gold earnings by sacrificing items or upgrading them with valuable resources. The fort is also where players will be participating in the end game activity, Fazir's Dungeon. Do you get it? It's a dungeon. It's a play on words. This tricky play on words is how players will be increasing their level and farming gear at the end of the game. These dungeons are randomly generated, with players selecting the modifiers, both negative and positive, by selecting a card. As dungeons are cleared, more difficult cards and modifiers are unlocked, which in turn grant greater rewards. It's a great endgame option that gives players more control over their loot farming. From the characters, combat, and the zen moments at the fort, all of Torchlight 3 is packaged in charming visuals. The art style isn't realistic, instead it's highly stylized, leaning into that chunky, cartoonish quality. The soundtrack is also superb, as it plays along unobtrusively in combat as you're exploring the worlds. There's just a bubbly and cheerful nature to Torchlight 3, even when you are blasting away at hordes of vomiting zombies, poisonous spiders, and electrified robot birds.
Thanks for your help, Recruit. We couldn't have defeated Yapper without you.
For everything Torchlight 3 gets right, and as enjoyable as it is, it does have a myriad of problems that prevent it from being a truly great title. There are desync problems, connection issues, simplistic boss fights, audio and visual glitches, and a general lack of polish. One particularly egregious error from the desync crops up when trying to revive another player. When one player goes down, their teammate can revive them by standing in a circle. Unfortunately, this circle can be in 2 different locations, resulting in the player not standing in the right spot. This is quickly remedied on easier difficulties, but can spell disaster to a dungeon run on harder levels. I also experienced a heap of connectivity issues and game glitches. Torchlight 3 frequently crashed, audio would stop playing, and attacks would fail to activate. Outside of the technical problems, there are also some design choices that make for a rough experience. The character's pathing is rather simplistic, for players using a mouse. Clicking a part of the environment, such as a landing on top of a ramp, doesn't translate to the character finding a route up. Instead, the hero will walk into a wall. Then there are accessibility problems, like audio logs not having subtitles. In the heat of battle, it's extremely easy to miss what these lore-rich nodes are saying, and unless you stick around to click it again, there's no catalog through which to read them or listen at a later time.
At the first sight of corruption, be sure to equip your Ember nullifying gauntlets and carefully extract all stone within a 50-meter distance to the corrupt Ember. Keep corrupt Ember separate from all other Ember and dispose in the nearest Ember disintegration device.
As for boss fights, there are many, but they're also rather simplistic. All the bosses have a charge attack, an attack that brings down rubble in an area, and diving moves. The most complex boss fights involve phases, where the boss becomes protected by a crystal or some sort of elemental hazard, but these are few and far between. They all just tend to blend together and feel the same. But the most problematic design choices are those relating to experimenting with new characters and respecing to create new builds. While Torchlight 3 encourages replaying to try out new classes, the amount of time it takes to get one class to a place where the end of the skill tree can be unlocked takes far too long. It would have been nice to have a catch-up mechanic, where subsequent characters receive an XP or leveling bonus based on the progress of your other classes.
Hurry back once you're finished. We're just getting started.
This slow progress to explore new heroes and their skill trees is further compounded by the lack of a total respec option. Players can earn single respec points to undo a single spent skill point. This is a baffling design choice. By the end of my 30-odd hour playthrough, I had amassed 16 of these respectacles, but I had nearly 60 skill points already assigned. I have no way of fully recreating my build unless I grind out bosses for a chance at a respec point, or spend another 20-odd hours playing a new character. It's a frustrating design choice that suppresses build creativity.
We're all grateful for your help, Recruit, but we must resume our mission.
Though the experience is hampered by bugs, glitches, and a few design issues, The snappy and Moorish combat, the treasure trove of stats and skills, and delightfully chaotic co-op gameplay make Torchlight 3 a must-have for anyone looking for more ARPG goodness. For more video reviews and everything else gaming related, you're already in the right place. You're on Shacknews.com.